New project time. I have some underlights for the camper because you gotta have underlights on the camper. That's what everybody's doing. But it actually does look pretty neat. You can light your campsite up a little better around the camper without blowing any of the neighbors out. I put dimmers on my side lights, but still they're pretty bright. So we're gonna get these out of the package and then figure out, sorry for the fast moving, figure out how to put them under the camper, which I have to clean out under. I've got using it as storage, but under here we have a center rail. So this center rail right here runs the entire length of the trailer to the tongue, all the way back 2.5 inch 3/16 steel, and it'll actually act as my receiver on the end for a bike rack or extra storage, whatever we might need back there. So I'm thinking I can attach one of the LED lights, strip lights on each side, fore and aft, to that rail. That rail's open to the weather, so I'm not too worried about drilling into it, but the rest of the frame is welded tight, so I don't really want to drill into that if I can help it. So tap those, mount them, and hopefully I'll have enough wire to bring it up into here, into the front of the trailer, where I have all of my electrical. Bring it right up into there, battery. I can put the control box and make that work. So just so you know, under here those zip ties were temporary, and I hadn't taken them off when I mounted that PVC to run my brake lines for the powered brakes up to the front. So they, once again, I don't want to drill through the metal. I want to drill through as minimal as possible. So I've got the actual hard mounts on it, and eventually I'll just cut the zip ties, but they're just there for now. Yeah, that's the underside. Plenty of room. Eventually, some water tanks back here. I have to get it weighed. It's not too tongue heavy, but it is tongue heavy, so I want to see exactly, do the weight and balance where I want to put the water. But the tank on each side plumbed together with just a little electric pump in the back. So that should be, in the end, all I have under here. So anyway, let's get on with the lights and see how they turn out. Okay, so after playing with it for a minute, checking the voltage off of it, there's some oddities about why they did this. Was an RV kit, so RVs set up for something large, and you would think that the lights would be wired in series. One connects to the other, and then one lead goes into the box that specifically is not weatherproof. But no, they've got 4 separate leads, and then 2 8-foot lengths, or 3 8-foot lengths, and 1 18-foot length of extension cable coming off the wires. So basically you'd have to mount all 4 and have a ton of wire running to the front with 4 leads. Thinking I'm gonna lay it out, see how the links do, see how I like that wire. I know I'm not gonna like that much wire running around. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna do is just cut the wires, rewire it all in series, hope this outputs enough power off of one, but if not, take the box apart and see what I'm working with, just to get the power reduction from the 12. But in the meantime, works. It's fairly bright in my eyes here. Got colors, that's pretty cool. Fade into 1, strobe, cycle. There's a beat. Let's see. Let's turn it on the white and let's dim it. How far? That's pretty cool. It dims quite a bit. So I've got to keep the control box so I can keep the control of the various colors and the dimming and everything, but I would love to only have one series of wires running through these back to the control box, which should be inside with the battery. So let's get it laid out and figure out if that is possible. So I went ahead and started raising the camper, give myself a little more room under there to work, and I'm just mounting up the LEDs with some self-fusing tape just to get them laid out and see what I think. So that's what's going on right here. Just a little on each side, and then we can run the wires and see what we're working with before we cut anything. Alright, so okay, I have them laid out. Let's see, here and back there. I think I'm just going to mount them and then run the wires up. Should have just enough wire to make it inside my electrical box area. I am going to cut the ends off, but probably just wire them back so I don't have a huge hole in the bottom of the camper itself. And wire them back, and I guess go with 4 because it's got 10 volts coming out of the control box, and I took the control box apart and there's 4 separate circuits on it. So to make sure I can get them as bright as I'd like, I'm going to leave that alone, just keep it 4 separate ones. But while I'm doing all this, I've been sitting on doing my emergency brake fail-safe so that if the trailer comes disconnected, it'll set off the brakes. So while I'm drilling the hole and doing the wires, I'm going to go ahead and do that. So that is the cable they attach to the truck that if it comes disconnected, it pulls that cable. We have a train in our backyard pretty much, just drove by. So anyway, that's the emergency cable release. Attach it to the truck, it pulls, and it'll close that circuit and then send power to the brakes. So I have to wire in mount in the battery for that, the battery backup, and then run everything into my junction box there. While I'm gonna do both of those at the same time and go ahead and finish building an actual battery box for the battery, cover the top up and everything, make that accessible. So little project turned into a little bit bigger. And the lights I'm going to plug into my fuse box rather than plug in direct to the battery like they are. I'm going to cut those wires and put them on a second fuse in the fuse panel. So let's get going with that. So here I am mounting the breakaway switch to the underside of the trailer tongue and just bolting it on, and then we'll have to add a little extra length to the wire so there's enough to run into the compartment to make all of our connections. So a little soldering and heat shrink over those joints, and then we leave the spools uncut until I know how much I want to need so I waste as little wire as possible. And now the fun part, start drilling more holes into my trailer. On the short section there's a 36-inch section and a 48-inch section of LED. So I put 3 mounts on the shorter and 4 on the longer, and this is just drilling those one at a time on each side and drilling those mounts in and then zip tying the LED to them. I only showed the back, rinse and repeat for the front of the longer 2 sections. Okay, here's the fun part, drilling another hole into my camper. I only have a few so far. I'm going to try to keep it minimal, but drilling the hole as small as possible and trying to fish the wire through, and start out with a hole that's too small. Had to enlarge it just a bit until I'm able to fish the ends through and all the wire through, and had to get a long thin drill bit to help kind of coax the fittings into the compartment, but got it all in. Okay, moving on along. This is pretty straightforward. Just mounting the battery back up and making its connections into the trailer junction box. So soldering some wire, cutting everything to length, crimping on the fittings, and making sure I put them in the right location. I keep notes in that little binder of what wire goes where, and the junction box, the fuse panel, and everything. And as I add new components, I add to it. Okay, I've got the trailer breakaway battery wired up and should be correct. We're about to test it. And then all the wires for the lighting inside. We'll deal with that next. But before I close this up, I want to go ahead and test the trailer brakes. So it is, the battery's charged up. Now let's spin the wheels and see if they stop. Pull the pin. Well, try that again. Boom. That's pretty good. Great. It's wired. I've got the Aura box. Let me turn the light on now that I have power again. There we go. I've got the Aura box tucked in under my charger, and rather than all of its wires, I wired it into my panel here and here, 10 amp fuse. And then for right now, all of the wires going to the LED are bundled up. And like I said, while we were at it, got the breakaway battery wired up and working. I've still got to do this, but the kids are getting home from school, so it's pretty cool. Let's see. Now it's not dark outside, but I can turn them on. All the stuff. I tested it for a dry run. I think we time-lapsed that, but so yeah. All these fancy lights when really I just wanted something like that. That's dimmable. And right now it's on this fancy little remote that I'm probably going to put a switch in at some point for it, so that it got a nice reliable on off. Doesn't ever come on when I don't want it to, even if I don't shut off power to my camper. So yeah, that's one more project checked off.